everyone, my name is Jordan, also known as X-3, and today I want to show you guys how to create this DEN synth. It's a very nasty and gnarled wobble lead synth. And the reason why I call it that is, well, let me play you a demo of how it sounds. Alright, so the very first thing you want to do is that you want to set your BPM. Instead of being 120, you want to set this to 140. Next, you want to throw in a combinator. And inside this combinator, you want to throw in a blank instance of Thor. I'll do my best at trying to teach this. I have a very sore throat and I'm kind of sick, so please excuse some of the breaks and some of the mishaps. So what I'm going to do with this Thor is that I'm going to go through all my oscillators, then I'm going to go through the routing, the filter section, the LFO, the amp, and then some of the modulation routing. And then finally, we're going to tackle the portamento. Alright, for my first oscillator, I'm going to leave it as is. For my second oscillator, I want to change it to an analog, and I want to take this to a sine. For my third oscillator, I want to take it to a wavetable, and I'm going to take this to 10 sines. I'm not going to mess with any of the octaves or anything. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on all three oscillators, and for my filter 1, I want to change this to 815 Hertz. So that way we're not getting too much resonance, but also not too much low end. It's a nice position. Next, I want to throw on my key sync and my tempo sync. For the rate, it's going to be 1/8. And make sure the keyboard follow is all the way down. Next, I'm going to change my amp envelope, staying all the way. And for my source routing, I'm going to change the first one to be LFO and the destination to be filter 1 frequency. I'm going to copy some notes over from my other demo, and then I'm just going to play along the notes and show you what the LFO does to the synth right now. It kind of gives it a little bit more swing. The final thing that we're going to do is that I'm going to close this and I'm going to turn on my portamento. Just going to turn it on, not auto, because it'll determine how much portamento to use and it'll use a teeny bit, little bit more CPU. Anyways, for the portamento, I'm going to change this to 25 for the amount. Next, we're going to get into finalizing the synth. So I'm going to throw on an RV7000. I'm going to use a preset that we have, that everybody has, and it should be all the warm plate. I'm going to basically take my dry wet down to 9, or actually I'm going to mess with the dry wet and see what dry wet we come up with, but it should be like 23. Actually change it to 12 and take the decay down to about 48. Not so much feedback, but still a lot of that source sound. So next, I'm going to throw on my pulverizer. I'm going to turn up the squash to about 20%. And the only thing else I'm going to use in this synth, this effect, is that I want to turn it to high pass. And I want to take the frequency all the way down to 82 Hertz. Next, what I'm going to do is throw on a little bit more creativity by turning on a Scream 4 or throwing it in there. Okay, so what we want to do with this Scream 4 is that we're going to turn the type to Scream. I'm going to set my P2 to about 104, and as I turn up the P1, you should start to notice the difference. So I've changed P2 to 100 and P1 is at full. So the next thing I'm going to do is give it a little bit more widening, and I'll show you how to do this just in case you guys don't have the echo. So what I'm going to do with the echo is that I'm going to take it off sync, turn time to 1 milliseconds, keep pitch, make sure that is turned on, and set the off sync to 8. Gives it a little bit more widening. So just in case you want to do this with something else, I'm going to bypass this. I'm going to take it to milliseconds. And for the amount of milliseconds, we're going to use, I think it was, oh, I remember. We're going to use 68. Make sure it's on 1/16. Make sure your feedback is at 23 and take your dry wet down to about 19. It gives it a little bit more widening, just not as much as the echo. So with that being said, I'm going to move on, and I'm going to throw on 2 M-class equalizers. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn on my low cuts for both of them. And for my first one, I'm going to search the different frequencies, and I'm going to listen to which ones sound bad. And you might want to turn down your speakers for this one because this is very ear piercing. I'm going to show you what I picked after, but this is a great skill to learn. So I'm going to turn it on, and I'm going to throw up my gain and my Q all the way, and then I'm going to search which sounds like take up that overshadow all the different harmonics. You'll see what I mean. Okay, so what I've chosen for my M-class equalizer is that my first parameter is at 4.420 kilohertz. My second parameter is at 1.106 kilohertz. If you don't know this by now, I only use M-class equalizers for removing frequencies. I almost never use it to boost any frequencies. So with that being said, I always take my gain and my Q, I take my gain all the way down and my Q all the way up. So for my second M-class equalizer, I chose the first parameter to be 543.3 Hertz. The second parameter is at 109.3 Hertz. And that's all we do to remove those harmonics. Next, we're going to attach a limiter. So I'm gonna throw in an M-class maximizer, and then I'm going to take it off limiter, turn on soft clip, and take the amount to 127. Thanks for joining me, and I'll show you guys later a new technique, synth, or whatever. Thanks for joining me, and I'll check you guys out later. Peace.